Dean, you're live with Eric and JMike. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So Dean is a professional apologist. Dean, the trees though, Dean.
What's up?
Did you look at the trees today, Dean?
Don't cause me to go hard in the paint on somebody in my own camp, okay?
So I want you to
That's
speak
just
for
wrong.
apology. I want you to give a reason for the joy in your heart, Dean. I want you to tell us why apologetics are important, because that's the whole reason we're doing this.
Right. So I wanted to talk to you about your recent debate with a friend of mine named Lucas Giolis from Catalyzing Faith. I thought it was a topic that you guys discussed that really here recently I think has been kind of on the peripheral about the compatibility between Christianity and science. And I just wanted to kind of get your opinion about where you think you were strong, where you think you were weak, and then what do you think where Lucas was weak and where Lucas was strong?
So I don't know if this is the right avenue for it specifically, because this is the ACA's platform. I do want to say that it was a debate that I had at a very poor time. It was scheduled months in advance, and it ran over another ACA show. The thing that I was on happened when Truth Wanted was on,
Right.
and I want to publicly apologize to all of the cast and crew for Truth Wanted. That was not fair to them. So I'm sorry, you guys. As far as the topic is concerned, I would love to talk about that. I just don't know if this is the right venue for it. Let's find a venue together, and I'd be happy to talk about it because I really want to, but I just don't know if it's the right place.
No, that's fine. Well,
yeah,
let me ask you a question that
Sure.
one of the questions that I put down for that conversation that wasn't there, and I think Lucas asked you, do you think that all truth can only be discovered through the scientific method?
Depends on what you mean by truth. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I just want to, I can give an example. It is true that all bachelors are unmarried because we define it as such. That doesn't mean that, so for people watching, Plato was not a toy that kids used. It was a philosopher who posited, he said that he thinks that there's this invisible realm, right? This whole other universe or this whole other realm that we can access. And when we're accessing those, we're accessing the perfect form. So like all apples are just a reflection, a bad reflection of the perfect apple in that universe or that realm that he talks about. It's called Platonism. And I think that that's not real. And because of that, when you're talking about truth, we need to be very, very careful about talking about what actually exists, what could exist, and what we're defining to be true. So do I think science can investigate whether water is wet? I think that's something we define to be true. Do I think that science can investigate whether or not you're someone I hold in high esteem? Absolutely. Those are different things.
Yeah, and I wouldn't advocate for scientism or anything like that myself. So to at least answer that.
You said you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I would concede like the, a priori conceptions and things like that. But I would also say like the best way I put this to people that I can think of is like if you have another tool for another epistemological tool that we could come to truth, right? If you have that, the way I see it is it seems like when someone offers, and I'm not saying you do this, but when someone's like, well, you don't know, how is this the only way to determine knowledge or truth? It's like, well, I don't, but I'm using this tool and I'm building houses. And I look over at your lot and there's no houses being built, but the person's, coming up to me saying, hey, you should use this tool in order to, you would actually come to better knowledge faster, quicker, or even better, right? You'd have a better understanding. But it seems to me that they can't even take me to Lowe's and take me to the aisle to show me where the tool is, right? I can't even know what it looks like. They're just postulating that this tool exists. And while they're left in their lot kicking rocks, I'm using this tool to build cities, and civilizations, and then providing the infrastructure for somebody else to come along and say, well, how do you know that's the best case? It's like, well, I don't, but offer it. I mean, that's up to you to offer that. So I would say we can derive it knowledge like Eric said, through, unmarried bachelor, these kind of a priori things. But at the same time, it's like you have to, if you're talking about empirical truth and things like that, well, you have to be in that realm and you have to show me what else we could apply. And I'm open to hearing it, but I just always end up seeing that never be the case.
Can I just explain that a little bit for people who are watching? Dean, JMike, just
yeah, sure,
just a sec.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the idea that JMike was bringing up, he's building houses, right? This idea that we're utilizing science to engage with the actual world around us. It's not like, you're building a cell phone and somewhere during the construction process, God needs to come into play. And because God, needs to come into play, okay, that's the part where no, we're absolutely fine building and growing this world that we're in. God need not apply. I'm sure you've heard the Laplace quote, right? Napoleon calls Laplace in, who had charted the stars, and said, Laplace, you've written this entire book, but I don't see where God is. Where's God? And Laplace says, I see no need of that hypothesis. Right? Is that about where you're going, Mike? JMike?
Yeah, and just to say that if you have like another tool we could use to build houses faster, right? Or what I mean by that analogously is that you're saying there's another tool we could use for knowledge. It just seems that
the God tool.
Yeah, it just seems that like that tool, like you can't take me to Home Depot and have me buy it, right? Like there's no thing of substance there. It's just this idea that you have some other way of determining truth. But
Dean,
like I said, it just seems like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, Dean, do you think we have a God tool?
Well, I think that as far as the way in which we understand the world, I think there's certain stopping points that would be what the way I would describe it is foundationalism. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, that there are certain things for knowledge that are necessary for foundation, for a epistemological foundation to understand how the world works. And I think that God is part of that, whether we recognize that or not. And the way that I would describe that would be, I probably would go the C.S. Lewis route from, I think it's in Miracles, where he talks about and I'll sum it up this way: if I'm just my brain chemistry, then why do I have the right or justification to believe anything that I believe if my brain is just matter and motion?
See, and so my response would be, if we are just Earth chemistry, then why does it spin around the sun?
Do what?
So if we as a species on this planet are just Earth chemistry, then why do we spin around the sun? You're implying this idea that if we are entirely physical beings, that there's something necessarily wrong with it, when the fact is, no, it's just uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
But there's more. But there's more to that. You would I don't know if you would see this or not, but you would say there's more to our physical being. Well, maybe you wouldn't.
Nope.
I don't know if you would find that, but
nope, I wouldn't.
I think we're both physicalists.
I was thinking about it, but I was like, no, you would. So
no, I mean, people might be wondering, what does that mean? Dean is asking if I'm some kind of dualist, that I believe that there's something other than the body, some extra spice that of the herbs and spices, there's one that is a non-tangible kind of ghosty.
Right.
No.
Right. there's more to that than I could go, but I just wanted to get the clarification about scientism, that you're not advocating for scientism, right? So you do believe that and I'm not against the scientific method. I think the scientific method is great. I'm just saying, like, if you were to be dropped off at an island, no, I'm just kidding. That's a joke from earlier.
Yeah. So
right.
That was really good, Dean.
So what other avenues of truth do you think that there are outside of just the scientific method?
Dean, I think it depends on what you want the truth about. I think if you want the truth about ontological claims, those are claims that are about the world we live in, the universe that we're actually in, not the one that we could have, not the one we might have, not the one that's possible, but specifically about this world that we're in, science is the best tool. If you are making very heady claims, or you're making, just esoteric philosophical claims, we can talk about other things. But I think if you're talking about this world, and specifically in regards to the debate that I had, that's one of the debate, but discussion that I had, when you're making claims about the world, those, yes, you should use science.
Yeah, or some method that determines some idea in your head to reality. Like that seems to be the easiest way to phrase it, is just that, like, even with your idea that God must be in that, like, you still have that idea, just it only, as far as we can tell, it only exists in your mind that is the case, right? So you wouldn't just necessarily use science to maybe distinguish if that's reflective of reality. There could be another way. I just think that science is the best option, and I don't see any other option necessarily, but I'm not saying there couldn't be. I'm just saying you would have to actually present that, and then it seems to be what you're going to be doing anyway is taking something that you just think of and then trying to map on to see if that actually reflects reality. And I think science is the best thing in the sense of that it takes a mirror, right? It puts it right next to reality. And if it does the job well enough, you can't tell the difference between the mirror reflecting reality and reality itself, because it just maps on and models the world that well, right? And I think science does that. And I think the fact that most of us concede that knowledge doesn't need pure justification, or Cartesian justification, as they'd call it, it works out fine. And that's,
I'm not advocating for Cartesian justification. I wouldn't advocate for that.
Sure.
I think that to a point leads to radical skepticism, where the only thing you really could know is that you're alive.
Yeah, that you exist in some ontological fashion. Sure, yeah.
I kind of want to put on board shorts and get my shark tooth necklace for totally radical skepticism. Dean.
Right, there you go. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I've got a family call I was supposed to be on.
Take care of yourself, brother.
Ago, so
thank you for calling.
Love your question.
I'll call in later. Take care, guys. Yeah.
Take care.
All right.
Yeah. You got. Hey, your friend's nice. I like him.
He's a nice guy. I like him too. So we don't have too much time. We only have 4 minutes before.
You told me this was a 24-hour marathon.
I'm sorry, man, but I want to go to the Discord and talk to people too. This was a lot of fun. With Dean's question, if you want to talk about things that exist in this world, you're talking about using science. And so if you want to say that the soul exists in this world, you have to use science. If you want to talk about, heaven or hell or sin or any of those things existing, if you're not specifically talking about this world, you just want to, be esoteric about it, fine. But if you want to make claims about this world, right? The idea, the claim is that heaven exists. That is an ontological claim. You should be able to use science.